Now let's delve into a critical tier of Nigeria's governance. I mean, governance structure, as it were, the local government, often described as the government closest to the people. Its potential for driving grassroots development has been persistently hampered by systemic challenges. In essence, we see is, experts describe a situation that experts describe as a grassroots development paradox, where despite huge allocations to the local government from the federation account, and in spite of a Supreme Court judgment to bolster that fact, what we see mostly is that tangible evidence of development remain elusive in many communities. Let me bring in my guest. My next guest is Professor Fred Eze, Professor of Public Administration. He's also the director, Enugu State University of Technology Business School, there in Enugu. That's ESUT Business School in Enugu. Prof, it's good to see you. Prof here would help us unpack, some of these issues that I've talked about. He joins us via Zoom from the coal city, Enugu, Southeast Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on Insight, Prof. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Prof, I am sure you understand this issue typically and why this paradox of underdevelopment has persisted. This paradox that I've talked about earlier or referenced earlier. Despite immense prospects and potential for growth, over time, we've talked about where the failure primarily lies. But what I want you to do instead is to go positive and begin by first speaking to the importance, the imperatives, and the viability of a viral local government administrative system in Nigeria. Prof, how germane is that to actualizing grassroots development across the country?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am very grateful to the NTA and to you for this opportunity to talk about the local government system, especially in Nigeria, as it pertains to Nigeria. You see, let me start by saying that if there had not been any local government system by now, it would have been necessary to invent it, because you cannot run a democracy like ours without the local government system. Let me say it again, say in other words, that the local government system is irreplaceable in a democracy, and it's unsubstitutable in a democracy. And one of the greatest problems we're having is that we're trying to replace the local government system. We're trying to substitute the local government system, a very local government system. And then we cannot go anywhere. Let me start. You see, most of the problems that bedevil the Nigerian society as it is now, 60 to 70% of it can be handled with a very local government system. You can solve these problems with a very local government system in Nigeria. I can give you some examples.
No matter how deep-rooted the issues are?
Just listen to me. Let me have it. It may not be that it will annihilate all the problems. It's not possible in a modern society. But you can ameliorate this society. You can reduce it to manageable size.
I get that.
Security. Now. Let's take the one that is on the front burner right now. Security. Insecurity in Nigeria. People do not realize that a greater percentage of the security problems can be handled by local government system. People do not remember that we had local government police in Nigeria. We had local government police, native authority police in Nigeria. And when we centralized the policing system in Nigeria, and then with the ramification and the complex growth of the Nigerian society, a centralized police system can no longer cope. Our problem has gone beyond even state police. What is needed is local government police. Why? Because if you recruit local government police from the rural areas, from the communities making up that local government, train them very well, equip them very well, they know the nooks and crannies of that society. They know the nooks and crannies of the community. In the rural community, everybody knows everybody else. They know when a bandit comes in. They know when an intruder comes in. But if you get somebody from a completely different society, a part of Nigeria, and ask him to be the policeman in the creeks in River State and Bayelsa State, and then the rogue jumps into the creek, and you think he's going to follow him? He doesn't know. To a certain extent, he will not pursue that chief. But the truth of the matter is that if you had gotten somebody from the local environment, give him adequate training, equip him, there will be no room for all these large-scale insecurity that we have in Nigeria today. In the United States of America and other large democracies, policing is local. They have the FBI, which is the federal.
Which is federal, of course.
They have the state troopers, which is the state structure. They have the municipal police.
Sure.
New York City Department, Los Angeles City Department, Police Department. The budget for New York City Police Department for this year is $5.something billion. $5.7 billion. Just New York City. It's different from New York State troopers. In other modern democracies, even large institutions have their own police, like universities. What stops University of Lagos from having the University of Lagos Police Department, University of Ibadan Police Department, FCT Police Department, different from Federal Police Department? They will be able to control criminality within that environment. And that's what we're not getting. And when I was so happy when the president, His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, came on air the other time and said, look, is it time for state police? I praise him for that. He's one person who has been a federalist to the core.
So, Prof, if I may come in here, here, Prof, just as we can use this local government approach to tackle an issue like insecurity or security, as it were, so we can also do in other areas, like whether it's agriculture, whether it's education, whether it's, just about any development sector.
I'm coming. Can you, if you give me some time, let me go through them.
Yes, because Prof, the truth is that there are a whole lot of issues that you and I need to talk about, and I would like for you to just
let me be brief about it.
Please.
I grew up in a town. Ikem, in Institute of Local Government, which was a local government headquarters. The agri department in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s was virile. You know what they did? They received new seedlings, varieties from research institutes, from everywhere, and they multiplied these seeds, and they had agri extension workers that went to the rural villages and said, plant this seed, plant this seed. This one is a new variety. It can withstand drought. It can withstand weevils. But now, all those things are gone. You can solve the food problem in Nigeria with a very local government system. They'll be able to identify the real farmers. So if we want to distribute inputs, there are the people who will identify the real farmers, not from the center. Primary health care.
Yes.
I can tell you, 60% of the health needs of the rural person can be met by a good health center managed by the local government, not states. It's only referral cases that you have to go to tertiary or secondary health care
institutions.
Most of the primary health care agencies in the rural area are already decimated, and that's the problem we are having.
So, Prof, it is, I have a very strong suspicion that you do not agree with the current model of, how allocations come down to the local government via the states. And yes, granted, Prof, I know we have a lot to contend with structurally and constitutionally in order for us to have this model of local government that you've talked about, autonomous, in Nigeria. But, even today, we know that a good portion, a significant portion of federal funding meant for grassroots development is channeled through constituency projects, legislators' constituency projects. Again, some would say bypassing local government councils. Do you believe this model is effective, this federal via states to local government in terms of funding? Or do you think it further weakens local administrations and blurs the line of accountability especially for project delivery at the grassroots?
I said the local government system was too replaceable. But we are trying to replace the local government system by other means. You create consultancy project, you plan for it from the center, from the federal, and you expect the federal ministry to implement consultancy project in the rural communities. The only governmental structure, the level, the tier that has the specialized tentacles to penetrate down the grassroots is the local government system. And if you try to bypass it, the federal government has no mechanism of reaching all the 774 local governments, 8,806 wards in Nigeria. It's not designed to be so. The only level tier that is designed to reach the grassroots is the local government system. But the constituency projects are implemented outside any connection with the local government system.
If you were to rejig the system and rejig the format, how would you rather go?
Simple. It's not rocket science. This has been done all over the world, all the large democracies. Federal funding to municipalities and local authorities are packaged and tied to projects and sent, and you cannot use it for any other thing. It's tied with string, and inspectors come to inspect whether you have carried out that. Okay, like the US, normally what they do is they send federal grants to municipalities. It could be for refuse disposal, it could be for housing, it could be for education. And they tell you this money is coming, you are going to use it to build 10 classrooms in these communities, in these rural areas, or to improve school enrollment, or to improve teachers' welfare. It is tied. And inspectors come to make sure that you implement. If you don't implement it, you do not get another tranche. It's when you have implemented that grant, what the grant was supposed to be used for, then other tranches of the grant will come. That
so
is how
if you're dissatisfied, Prof, if you're dissatisfied with the format of constituency projects as currently exists, I am very sure you're also dissatisfied with the oversight and monitoring being done by the legislators themselves. Even if they describe themselves as the people's voice. They are the people's representative there in the center. They are from the grassroots there. So doesn't that suffice for something? For something? Doesn't that say something at least in terms of accountability and supervision of some of these projects at the grassroots?
Well, oversight function is a constitutional provision and the right of the legislators. Nobody will dispute that. It's the right that they have to oversee the execution of the budget. But basically, they are federal legislators or state legislators in the capital cities. not in the rural areas where these projects are going to be executed. We need somebody on the ground, not somebody who is visiting
Like
time.
councillors.
Yeah, yes, like why the council not supervising the project in his ward? Why is it not part of the structure or mechanism to implement those constituency projects? That's just where we don't agree with the system as it is now. There
Okay.
has to be a mechanism of involving the local government structure in the implementation of constituency projects. And when we begin to see good results going
Prof,
forward.
yes, Prof. I mean, as a professor of public administration, there's an issue I'd like to take up with you. And just, I mean, in sustaining this line of conversation on transparency and accountability, you know, more expansively now in the public sector at all levels, you know, whether it's the federal, state, or local government. These days, we see and hear of situations where those with the responsibilities of implementing some of these policies and programs, like you have mentioned, you know, are the same ones flaunting them. Prof, isn't it true that no politician can succeed at anything without collaboration with the civil servants or with the public sector worker or officer, whether it is with the Procurement Act or indeed any other statutory guideline? What then is the practical imperatives for leadership in the public sector, including at local government level?
Well, thank you very much for this question. It's been one of the major problems we are grappling with in the public sector in the third world, not just in Nigeria. There is this disconnect between what is supposed to be done and what is happening on the ground. We had a national conference last week, and I posed this question to the participants. I said, why do we have permanent secretary? What is the meaning of permanent secretary? What is the philosophical underpinning of the term permanent secretary? You see, the permanent secretary represents the permanent interest of the society. The minister can come and go. The commissioner can come and go. The local government chairman can come and go. But the permanent secretary remains. And he ensures that in the operation of that ministry or that government agency, ministry or department or agency, he preserves the permanent interest of the society and ensures that every bit of accountability is preserved. And that is why he or she must sign every check before any expenditure is made in the ministry. But unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing today. We are seeing situations where the permanent secretary or the director or whoever is in charge colludes with the political class to loot government resources. That is not, it is an aberration. And that does not mean that the bureaucratic model that we are using to manage the ministries is wrong. It's not. It is orientation.
Okay.
The problem is not with the rule. It's not with the regulation. The problem is with the operators of the system.
How do we now merge all of these, the orientation, attitudinal change, work ethics? How do we merge all of that to boost productivity in the public sector, you know, for peak performance? You know, take for instance, Prof, the quality of personnel there in the local government service, you know, for instance. How can we, if you go to most local governments, Prof, you and I know, they don't go to work.
Yeah.
And these are the same persons you want implementing those same constituency projects that you're talking about. These are the same persons you're saying we should have police supervising local government police. So if we are to get it right, how do we professionalize, you know, this local government workforce to ensure that public servants are not just skilled, not only skilled, but they are ethically compelled to act in the interest of their communities? And that's your that will be your final word, Prof.
Please. Look, this is very important. This your question is very important. And that means we need fundamental changes. Leadership recruitment process in the local government system is very important. And that is where we are getting it wrong. Now, because of the apron strings which we have tied in the local government to the governments, and the state governors can pick whomever is going to be the chairman and councillor. And what does that mean? Now, it means that it is no longer performance that determines the electability of the local government official. It is his acceptance to the state government. That is what. So he's no longer responsible to the people. He's not responsible to the state government. And that is a sacred pillar of democracy. We have demolished a sacred pillar of democracy in the local government system. That is the accountability the local government official has to render to the people. That we remove that, and that has demolished everything we are doing. So the local government official, whether he does right or he does wrong, the people do not have the right to vote him out. And every other thing follows from there. That is where the road starts. So it's every man to himself. And that is the problem. So we must get it right. To get it right, we must remove 197 of 1999 Constitution that grants the establishment of state independent electoral commission. We must make the INEC, the federal INEC, conduct local government elections throughout the federation and insist that elections will be credible, fair, and free. Once we do that, we restore that confidence. Part of the problem of Nigerian democracy is that we have mismanaged the local government democracy. The local government system is incubator. That's the breeding ground for democratic practices. You get it wrong at the local government system, it is not easy for you to correct it at the state or federal, because at the local government elections, it is their kids and kin that conduct this election. They know who should be there, and they will be interested to come out to vote if they know that their votes will count. But what we have done is we have removed the ordinary citizen from choosing he or she wants to be his official at the local government level. And so there is general idea that it will not count. And so there's a correct vote in local election, they likely not vote election.
Prof, if you can hear me, we're having issues with your network. Unfortunately, okay, we started great, but now it's failing us. But incidentally, we're out of time. My director just told me we're totally out of time. But of course, this is an ongoing conversation. We will try and bring you back so we can. There's a whole lot more to talk about. In how, yes, despite or in spite of the Supreme Court's judgment, we cannot say we have in practice, autonomous local governments, across the federation. You and I will engage in this conversation in the near future. We will be bringing you back presently to talk about that and a whole lot more. But for now, I'd like to thank you so much, Professor Fred Eze, Professor of Public Administration and Director, Enugu State University of Technology, Technology Business School, Enugu. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, I'd like to apologize to our viewer for the intermittent break, in connection there. It's due to poor connectivity. It's from Prof's side, not from our side. Prof's network
I'm on Starlink. I am surprised that you're having this. I'm on Starlink.
Oh my God!
Thank you.
Well, but we'll see. We'll
Thank you
see.
for having me, and I will be available
I'm
any
pretty
other
sure
day.
our next conversation will go a whole lot better. Please feel free to come into our studio or to let us know whenever you're in town in Abuja, so we can just bring you into the studio so we can have a studio-based conversation as well. But for now, I'd like to thank you so much for your input. I thank you for your thoughts on these issues. They're quite profound, I must say, I dare say. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming on Insight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, viewers.